Hello everyone and welcome to our yet another very interesting discussion on forecasting and time series. In this lecture unit, I'm going to make a presentation of the Z-chart, and of course we begin by understanding what is the Z-chart. So on the slide we are saying that the Z-chart is simply a graph or a graphical charting of values over a period, frequently 1 year, and this graph shows the simultaneous monthly figures, which can be weekly or daily cumulative, the cumulative totals and the moving averages, the cumulative totals and the moving averages. The Z chart, why we call it the Z chart, is because it normally takes on the Z shape. It may not be a perfect Z, but it takes on the Z shape, and thus deriving its name and title, the Z chart. The Z chart is used in clarifying the trends that are present in a given set of data. It is also very important in what we call inter-firm comparisons. You are able to look at the performance of your company looking at the current year, the midterm, and the long term. So the question is, how do we construct the Z chart? How do we construct the Z chart? So there are 5 major steps. Step number 1, what we do is to gather data on a regular basis for a given activity, such as sales per month. So we can collect information of maybe sales per month. And then step number 2, we identify the major review period to be considered. So the major review period, do you want weekly? Do you want daily? Do you want monthly? So for the purposes of our illustration today, our major review period will be a monthly cycle. We shall use monthly sales data. So at the end of the day, the monthly sales data can be accumulated or can be viewed over a longer period, let's say 12 months. So the data that we are going to collect should be covering the period of 12 months. After we have done the identification of the major review period, we move to step number 3. And under step number 3, for each minor review period, the 1 month that I'm going to use, we build a long-term view by totaling the data for the past major review period, which is 12 months. So we do some kind of cumulative additions. Okay, we do some kind of cumulative additions. Next, of course, we need to note that the rolling total of 12 months ago will require data of a previous 12 months period. That's why you see that in these Z charts, in questions handling Z charts, you are given 2 years, 12 months of the current year and 12 months of the previous year. This enables us to look at the long-term view that will help us in making the comparisons. Then step number 4, for the current review, that is a month, we sum up the previous values over the past major review period, which is the 12 months we are going to use today. Then finally, we build our Z chart using information derived from steps 1 and 4. On your screens is an illustration, okay, an illustration of the Z chart. Now, what I'm going to represent in green here will be the 12 months performance, okay, the 12 months performance. Then what I'll represent in red will be the midterm, okay? And then what I'm going to represent in blue will be the current monthly, okay? Monthly. The monthly figures are going to be plotted along this line here. So it comes out as a Z. Yes, I said not a perfect Z, but it will depict a Z shape. To support this discussion, we are going to use November 2018, question 1, part C. This is an exam type question that's going to help us appreciate the construction of the Z chart. So on your screens is our November 2018, question 1. And in this question, we were given the sales in crates for a beverage company, for a beverages company, and the figures given are monthly for the year 2016 and 2017. We were required to construct the Z chart for the above data and to comment on any future in the Z chart we have drawn. Alright, on your screens is my working for the Z chart, the figures I need for the Z chart. As I indicated, the figures are put in blue are going to be represented by this line. This is where those figures are going to be represented. The figures that I'm going to include in the cumulative totals here in this column are the ones represented by this red line. Now the cumulative totals, I'm going to accumulate the 2017 figures. That is to say, I'll get the 30. We shall have the 30 there. So I'll begin with the 30. Now 30 plus 40, that gives us 70. 70 plus 50, that gives us 120. 120 and 40, that gives us 160. 160 and 50, that gives us 210. You continue using your calculator. Those are the figures that you get. I'll make them bold. Then when you are done getting the cumulative totals, then you proceed to get the moving annual totals. Now moving annual totals, not averages, okay? So you must get the totals. How do I get the totals? Now you begin with January. Starting with January, you're going to add from Feb, because already you're standing in January, so you don't consider the 20. So you're going to consider all these figures. I'm going to paint them yellow for your easy understanding. So all the figures in yellow are going to be added to represent the moving annual total. So you get the 50 plus 30 plus 40 plus 60 plus 100 plus 70 plus 90 plus 60 plus 80 plus 50 plus 120 plus 30. Those are 12, giving us a figure of 780. Please use your calculator and see whether this is what you get. When you're done with January, next you move to Feb. Okay, let me get the yellow out of here. When you're done with January, next you move to Feb. Now, since you're standing in Feb, you're going to start with March. Okay, you're going to start with March. So all these figures I'm putting in yellow, all these figures I'm putting in yellow are part of the moving annual total. So this time around, you pick up even the 40, because without the 40, you won't have the 12. So you're going to add 30 plus 40 plus 60 plus 100 plus 70 plus 90 plus 60 plus 80 plus 50 plus 120 plus 30 plus 40. When you total up, you should be getting 770. So you continue like that. You continue to March, April, May, like that. These are the figures you should get. And these represent our moving annual totals. So when you're done with getting that data, you now build or construct our Z chart. So the Z chart for this particular question is going to be plotted. Of course, we put the months, okay? Our months are going to be put on the x-axis, the horizontal axis. And then these you get an appropriate scale which can fit all these, because you have to plot this on the vertical or y-axis. So on your screens right now is our fully constructed Z chart. As you can see, I've plotted the months on the x-axis, and the performance or the seasonal data has been included on the y-axis. So an appropriate scale that would work for me is 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, like that. So at the end of the day, let me zoom it. At the end of the day, you're going to have a Z shape. Okay, so this represents the moving annual totals. Okay, moving annual totals, these figures here, the green figures here. Then this represents the cumulative totals. So when you plot the cumulative totals, aim at getting that line. Aim at getting that line. So these are the figures here, the ones in red. And then finally, the figures in blue, the 2017, the current year, are the ones that make this line. The ones representing, this line represents those figures. The monthly sales, the monthly sold crates, or the monthly sales of our crates. So it makes the Z. So what you're going to do, you're going to try it out yourself before going to the exam, so that you're sure you can achieve the Z out of your graph.